Hey guys, Buckeye Bar Guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, and that way, anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show.
Welcome back, everybody. Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
And tonight's date is Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Pretty quick show tonight. We don't got too much to go over. We want to just quickly talk about the draft. A couple of the Buckeyes that were chosen, draft-wise this year. And then just finish up on the show on some of the transfer portal news, as we got a big commitment this weekend and this week in the transfer portal, so that we'll be going over that stuff. But we wanted to start off the show this week, and probably going forward over the next several shows and throughout social media. As everybody knows, pretty much anybody who's been watching us for a while knows that John and I were Northeast Ohio guys. Football has been a big part of our lives. Youth football, big part of our life. So we were reached out to from a representative from the Wadsworth Youth Football to talk about their annual scholarship dinner that is going to be coming up in July. And so looked at it, definitely looks like a great cause, and just wanted to say a few words about it. As we said, we're big supporters of youth sports, especially in Northeast Ohio. And obviously we're both products of lots of youth sports growing up, so these are obviously great causes. So the dinner is going to be, and I will have the links and stuff in show notes that you can go out to purchase tickets if you're interested. But it's the Wadsworth annual scholarship dinner. It benefits it provides you scholarships to former youth football players and cheerleaders that came up through their program. Basically, it's given back to high school seniors. Is obviously important to them. It's important to us. And the dinner is on July 14th. And this year's keynote speaker is Jerome Baker from former Buckeye, Miami Dolphin. And they've had I looked through some of the stuff that they had up in the past. They had Bernie Kosar before. They've had Tressel, Anthony Gonzalez, and others. So obviously, Browns, Buckeyes, different representatives, people that have played for the school, for Ohio State, and for the Browns have been there at the dinner. So basically, it's going to be at Friday, July 14th, 2023. It's going to be at the Galaxy in Wadsworth, Ohio. Doors open at 5:45 p.m. Dinners at 6:45 p.m. Majority proceeds benefit the scholarship for a graduating youth football alumni. And there will be an auction after the dinner. Kind of looking at some of the stuff that they've had in the past. I mean, right on their website, they show a Baker Mayfield jersey and an Eddie George jersey. So obviously, there's different memorabilia, they said different types of experiences that they auction off. So obviously that sounds pretty cool. Throw your name into something like that, you could win some looks like some pretty cool prizes. $40 is the ticket price for the dinner. So that's pretty reasonable, I would say, for such a good benefit. And they also, on their website, if you are part of a company or other types of organizations, they do have different information about sponsors and sponsorships. So like I said, we'll put the website up on the on our show notes, which is www.wadsworthgrizzlyfootball.com. And when you actually go to the website, obviously you go up to the top where you see the menus, and there's drop down for fundraisers, and you can find the scholarship dinner there. But I will have a direct link to the scholarship dinner in the show notes. But like we said, very cool benefit just by reading through some of this stuff. Seems like they've had some really cool guests over the years and some really cool prizes and for the auction, and it benefits a very good cause, and so something that we would definitely look forward to, kind of help plug in and stuff to at least our audience to, get some buzz about it. Seems like it's pretty a popular event. They'd say the tickets normally do go pretty fast. So if you're interested with it, I would, look it out, go to the website and
get it today.
Buy those tickets. So yeah, definitely something, hopefully they can sell out pretty quick, and it'll be a really good event. So, which is really cool.
Yep. Get your tickets today for sure.
Yep. Alrighty. Buckeyes, Buckeye draftee. So, obviously the last time we talked, it was about speculation where Buckeyes would get drafted and stuff. We have answers now. So, with all the craziness that was being thrown around CJ Stroud last week, a lot of that looked like to be pure smoke now, as Stroud was drafted number 2 to the Texans. Which then came right back up and got their next need in Will Anderson, drafting number 3.
That's a good first round.
So that was thank God for the Browns, I guess, giving them all that draft capital that helped them move another spot. So come back up into the draft. I think they came up from like 12. That's where the Browns would have been picking, or 11, something like that. So that's where they came up at to get that. So that was a good draft for them. But then Paris Johnson, which we kind of figured was going to be the second Buckeye, and I said on last week's show, it seemed like Arizona was looking at him. Arizona didn't go with him, and then they traded back up, and they ended up getting him. I believe it was at 6th or 7th. 6. Yeah. So he went 2nd, and then Jackson Smith went 3rd. I can't remember I believe he was the first receiver taken when the receivers started finally going, which was weird. I mean, even though I know receivers, it's kind of funny. Like receivers, they've now are becoming. There's so many of them, and there's so many good ones out there that I think their priority levels kind of fallen some over the couple of years. It's like everybody makes their runs for their quarterbacks, their linemen, their defensive linemen, and then they kind of, when they start going. So he was the first one to go off the board, and then they kind of, a bunch of right after that started going, and then I believe that was it until Zach Harrison. Am I correct on that one?
Yeah. So yeah, JSN was number 20 to the Seahawks.
Yep. And then so Zach Harrison, I believe, went in the 4th round, 3rd round, somewhere in there. And then the Browns ended up taking both Dawand Jones and Wypler. Yeah, that's probably right. So then Dawand Jones and Wypler goes next, or in the next few rounds. Both go to the Browns, which I'm, kind of start off with those guys, just because, Browns bias with us. I like the picks. I think they both, I don't know how, Wypler grades out at the end of the day as a center, but he could be an interior lineman. He's going to have experience. And I like the Dawand pick. I mean, I've always been really bullish on Dawand. I think if he keeps his head focused, he could be a good NFL play. And, Callahan, obviously in the NFL, you don't know how long coaching staffs will stay around for whatever, because obviously it's a big time business and coaching staffs get fired fairly quickly. And, the Browns have a reputation that precede themselves. So I think Callahan is going to be perfect for the two of them. If he stays there, if this staff is there for a few more years and stuff, I think Callahan is a great offensive line coach. I mean, he comes with tons of years of experience. He's always been well known in that, arena as being a top level offensive line coach. So I think he's going to do wonders for both of them. And, I think Dawand could be a big time steal in the draft. I think he could be, if he accepts the coaching that Callahan will get him. He loves run blocking. He's a powerful guy that likes to get out and hit people. The Browns are going to run. I mean, so I think he could be real beneficial there. And
well,
then,
the one thing about NFL linemen, though, is, he's not going to have that opportunity to slack because he'll be out of the league then.
Yep, exactly. And he was drafted low enough that, if you don't bring your A game, they'll find a free agent that they can plug in there too. And, for roughly the same amount of money, because that's the league.
Well, yeah, unless you're, a first round pick, second round pick, but fourth round pick, he was fifth round, they'll move on from him before he even sees the field his first year if he's not serious about it.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely has to stay buckled in, I think he does a pretty good job with keeping his head focused, but he has lapses. So, and the thing with the NFL, like we've said here, it's a business. And, some of those lapses, they overlook those lapses when you're drafted very early in the draft. They'll give you a couple breaks on the lapses. You'll be lucky to get a second chance when you are taken later in the draft. And that's, you really have to prove yourself on that stuff. But I was glad to see that they took him. They could use the help in the trenches, the Browns. And I think he could bring both of them. But I'm really high on Dawand. I think they could bring a lot of potential to the Browns offensive line. Wypler, we were kind of talking about this throughout the draft and stuff like that. And we questioned it heading into the draft. I think he should have stayed. I don't know who was giving him his information and stuff like that. Interior lineman, man, you got to be really careful. Those tackles, the tackles are very, very highly looked at in the draft. So those are who go first. And then after that, it's kind of like, world-class centers and world-class guards, sometimes they don't go until like the second, third, fourth round. They're kind of similar to the wide receivers. There's a lot of them. And,
right.
Is there a lot of difference between the first and second guy and the 10th guy? And I think that's how a lot of these NFL teams look at it, that, any one of these guys, a lot of these guys are very good. And if you're not head and shoulders better than the rest, then, you're going to kind of fall to where, that position is desperately needed by whatever team is picking it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I thought one more year could have helped him out. I don't know. Maybe it was just, he is what he is, I think he could get better, but he wasn't bad. He had a good game against Jalen Carter. He did okay against Mozzie Smith. He has rough spots against Michigan here and there, but I don't. Maybe he's a little undersized. I don't know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, I thought he should have stayed another year. I really did. I didn't think for like a center, I think I even texted you about it. He was in his true third year, he came in 2020. So for a center or a guard to leave after 3 true years as a true junior,
and one of those seasons is 2020. Can you really count it? Yeah, can you really count it as a season? Like
you don't have to necessarily be generational at that position, but you gotta be borderline a first round draft pick. You got to be pretty special that you would want to leave after 3 years as an interior lineman. And one of them, like you said, is 2.5, and he wasn't even the starter then. That was Josh Myers started.
Yeah.
He only played a little bit. And he did.
And we already know what
he came in against Michigan State.
And we already know what we know what practices were like back then. it's no secret. I mean, we've talked a lot about the 2020 season on I mean, that's been brought up numerous times about residual effects, how have affected different players. Even to this day, we've talked about it. So I mean, yeah, I don't know why he thought it was needed to go, but who knows, baby.
But that's up to him. That's his decision. He got drafted, so best of luck.
Maybe he wasn't feeling Fry, and maybe he didn't want to transfer and just felt like he was ready to go. I mean, maybe there's, there could be a situation there where, he needs money. And,
Yeah.
I mean, even where he's drafted, I mean, I mean, it's not first round money, but it's more money than, anybody pretty much listening to this podcast makes in a year. So, I mean, it's
but he probably could have got more than that from a collective to stay at Ohio State.
Probably, but I mean,
but it's his decision. So I fault nobody for doing what they want, and he got drafted. So best of luck to him. And I'm a Browns fan, so it's
I'm still
hopefully
rooting.
He does well, because now I got to judge him at the next level.
Yeah, I root for all Buckeye players at the next level, but I definitely root extra hard for the ones that play for the Browns, because they're the ones that hopefully are gonna bring that elusive Super Bowl trophy, that's Lombardi trophy to Cleveland. That one it's always so close, right? That's just out of their grasps.
Right there, just right there for the take. Mike, let's talk real quick before we move forward about Zach Harrison being the only defensive player taken for the Buckeyes. And I believe last year they only had did they only have one taken last year? Tyreek Smith, was he still on the team? I can't remember.
But yeah, it's something like that.
Because Togi has gone after 20. Okay, so yeah. Last year was only Tyreek Smith, I'm pretty sure.
You can say that there is some of the reasons why they've had some issues.
I mean, the Browns signed all their secondary guys.
Yeah, you're back. Okay. I think that you could argue that maybe that's why they've had some issues the last couple years on defense, is maybe they don't have some of that higher end talent that they've had in years past. And you can kind of possibly see that on the field. But I did see a lot that I liked last year, and a lot of those kids are coming back. So, that's possibly a good sign that, there's, there was things. I know a lot of people like to look at the Michigan game and the Georgia game, and that's how but there was some positives earlier in the season. I think that the defense last year, even with the last two games, were better than the defense that they had the year before. So, I mean, that I guess there's a silver lining with everything. But yeah, no, I understand what you're talking about. It's kind of I think that's where you could probably align a lot of their defensive problems, that they just have not had the talent the last couple years.
Yeah, I agree.
Where they should be, the talent where they should be at.
I'd imagine you're going to get a decent defensive haul this year, though. I mean, you got to imagine Sawyer. I mean, there's a good chance you could lose all four of those linemen. I mean, because they all flash, like JTT is definitely special. Sawyer has flashed before. He's trying to figure out what he is. Of course, Tyreek and Mike Hall have both flashed also. So
yeah, and you're losing at least two linebackers. You're losing
a lot in the secondary. I don't know how much is high end, but you're losing a lot in the secondary.
I could say you're losing. I mean, you got to figure
Burke will be a high pick, I would think.
I mean, you could assume that if he has a good season this year, that you're losing Burke. I mean, that's just reputation for Ohio State secondary precedes them, and I think he'd be in a good position to be drafted pretty high.
I mean, and Hancock's going to be eligible. That doesn't mean he leaves, but does Burke does have that one really good year already on film.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot there to kind of look at. I was really thinking where Zach was going to go, because like there was parts of me that could make arguments that he would go where he went, but then there was also thoughts of me being like, he could slide late. I mean, I always knew he was going to get drafted. Like
Yeah.
he was not going to fall to an undrafted player, but like there was parts of me that thought like he could be a 6th-round pick, because he's so up and down with a lot of his stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. When Zach Harrison's been at his best, I mean, the guy is a top 10 draft pick. He is flashed at different times when yeah, that is the Zach Harrison, at least a top 20 draft pick. That, he could be a freak when he wants to be. And then there's other times where it's just like, and I don't want to say he doesn't take things off. I don't think he does. I don't think he's one of those types of players, but there's just times where he just didn't get the right oomph or whatever, and just was just a step slow and just could not get there to the quarterback.
He lacked a lot of that bend, flexibility that the Bosa's and Chase Young had. And I mean, he had all the skills and athletic traits that could help him, but at the end of the day, the production didn't match the athlete. So, and I understand people can say, he's great at setting the edge, he's good against the run. That's all good and well. I get that, but that's not a 1st-round defensive end. Is the guy that sets the edge,
Oh yeah,
Larry Johnson's your coach. You're expected that you're a sack machine to be a 1st-round end.
Yeah. Like when you get drafted in the 1st round, especially high 1st round with as a defensive end, yeah, it's good that Myles Garrett is really good against the run. It's really good that Nick Bosa is good against the run. Joey Bosa is pretty good against the run. But those guys didn't get drafted because, they're good against the run. Yeah. No. If the run goes towards them, they can shut the run down. But, they are drafted there because, they're there to put the quarterback on his butt. And
they're difference makers. They're the guys that get off the field.
That's the guy you have there. It's 3rd and 6. And it's an NFL quarterback on the other side of you, and he doesn't need a lot of time to get 6 yards. And that's the guy, you're there to get to the quarterback and make sure that it's 4th down.
Right.
And so, yeah. So, yeah, that's the way you put it. I mean, he has a lot of great things about him. It's just, he just didn't have that extra step then, and he was such a high recruit coming in that we kind of all expected, he might be the next one, but it is what it is, I guess.
And hell, I mean, he can make an NFL career because he still has all that athletic freakiness about him.
Oh yeah. I mean, you think about and I know, and I'm not trying to judge him against Cam Hayward and stuff like that. You can make a long NFL career, and if you get good, you can put on the right team. You can get to your 3rd contract, your 4th contract, and make good money. And there's always going to be there's always, as long as you perform, there's always teams that are looking for Zach Harrisons and stuff they have on their team. So you got to prove yourself, and it's kind of like same thing we said for Dawand earlier. It's like, yeah, you could be, if you don't have your head in the game, you'll be out of the league real fast. But if your head is in the game, there are a ton of guys that have been drafted in those later picks that made great NFL careers for them. Were they Hall of Fame careers? No, but they made a lot of money doing, being just guys, dependable guys that they could be plugged in, and they did their job. So, and and that's the biggest thing for the NFL is with salary caps and on all that stuff. College football is kind of spoiled when the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Georgias of the world, they get to bring in 20 1st-round draft picks every year and then kind of see where they fall after that. You don't get that same luxury in the NFL. You got a lot of guys that make top end money, and then you got a lot of guys that make league minimums. And the best GMs and coaches are the guys that know how to plug and play all those guys that make the league minimums or don't make very low salaries and find them in the correct spots, and that's probably where, and that's in reality, that's where championships are won in the NFL, is those guys, because that's who finishes out those teams.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So wish him the best, though.
Yeah,
he could have a very long career.
Just real quick, we'll just finish up with the draft stuff on Stroud. Just your thoughts. I mean, I think it was kind of crazy, all the stuff that was getting thrown out there. But as we got closer and closer to draft on Thursday night, it just seemed like they were going to take him. And so I'm just like, all right. Like, I think I got a pretty good inkling. I think I was reading some stuff on Twitter and stuff from different experts around the league and stuff, different analysts, that it seemed like that's where he was going to end up going. And I think probably around 6 o'clock, I would say, I kind of felt pretty good. I think you texted me earlier that it seemed like that, he was probably going to go a little earlier than possibly they were talking about or whatever. But, so it just kind of seems like a lot of people were throwing out a lot of garbage, and that stuff happens in the NFL. I mean, the draft stuff gets kind of silly when names start getting thrown out there, and then Levis ends up falling to the second round. So
I mean, anyone that would have drafted Will Levis over CJ Stroud, they should have immediately been fired from their position. Like, that was, I don't know. And the fact that McKay and Kuiper eat that crap up every year,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I felt bad for Will Levis a little bit. I mean, he should have never been put in that place anyways. That guy has never played like a first round talent. I know he might have the upside, but he's not. He's not a first round quarterback. And hell, he might have all the motivation now that could have a great, long, successful NFL career, but he did not deserve to be a top 5 draft pick. There's nothing on film. I mean, the best game he ever played was when he came in as a backup against Ohio State when Cliff got hurt. So
it seemed like the Texans were probably all in on Stroud, but they were probably like, I wonder if we could fleece somebody. Like, I bet it was them. That it kind of seems like it probably was them, like, throwing, because it wouldn't benefit any other team besides them. I mean, especially if you get the feeling that the Panthers are taking Bryce Young, and who knows, maybe in reality what it was is that maybe the Texans really love CJ Stroud, but they were kind of nervous and they didn't like anybody else, so they were kind of nervous that maybe the Panthers were going to end up taking him. I mean, you don't know what some of that chatter is. And, maybe the whole Levis thing was them just floating things out there that they were thinking about taking Levis instead of at 2, to try to get somebody that really wanted him to, come up and give them more draft picks. I don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of things. It could have been Will Levis's agent for all we know. I mean, that stuff is.
I never saw it with him. So best of luck to Will. Hope he has a great career. CJ's just he's too good of a passer. You can't, and it's not like physically there's nothing wrong with him. He can run if he needs to. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a great athlete by any stretch of the imagination, but
I was listening. So I wasn't home for the first couple picks. I was on the road, but I'm listening to CBS Radio's draft coverage. I think I got home I got home for the 3rd pick, right when Will Anderson got drafted. And the guy on the radio after Stroud got taken, he was okay with it. I mean, he liked the pick and stuff like that. I mean, he said some stuff about Ohio State's offense, which we're not going to get into tonight. But I think we should talk about it, as that will be a kind of a good topic, as we're kind of in the drills of Buckeye summer before camp starts. So that will be a good topic for another show heading into camp, I think. But he was just like, well, is he really a great athlete? He only really showed it against the Georgia game. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, but he showed it, like,
right.
He showed he could do it. Like, so.
And I'm not trying to like take that away from him, say he's not a great athlete, because even then, I mean, it wasn't like the most impressive bootleg that he ran, but he did it, and he had that right in his mind. I mean, the last run was great.
Yeah.
And it's so damn unfortunate that didn't. I mean, that there is no reason in this universe that should not have been the play to help them get to the national title game. I mean, that was just him taking off and running like 30 yards or whatever. It was amazing.
It's crazy, and I don't want to get on a big tangent because we wanted to get out of here quick tonight, and we still got to talk about the transfer portal. Just the last thought, like, you think about it, if they make that kick, and after we saw what Georgia did to TCU, so most likely, I would say, I'm pretty 99. I'll give it a 1%, or I'm 99% confident Ohio State would have won the national championship if if they make that game. That could arguably that run is kind of like the play of the playoffs. I mean, you think about
for sure.
I mean, when you think about like the stuff that like when they go back to 2014, the stuff that they still show about Zeke and that run, a lot of it's against Alabama. They beat Oregon. I mean, there's a point there where they had to kind of put the foot back on the gas pedal in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. But they beat Oregon handily. The Alabama game, that's where the big moments happened that propelled them to that game, and that was the big moment. So I mean, you just think that would have went down for all the different discussions people would have had about CJ Stroud and different things on a Buckeye fandom. That was, if they would have made that kick, that was his play. That would have been cemented in history within the school. That he put it all on his shoulders at the end of the day and put him in position to eventually go win a national championship. And it's just, unfortunately, the kick didn't hit.
Just by that much. No,
yeah,
it is what it is. All right, transfer portal.
So we got first guy. I keep on thinking. I can't. The first guy's name keeps on escaping me. The tackle, the offensive tackle. So
Josh Simmons from San Diego State. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. I knew that part. So obviously we've talked about offensive line a lot. Transfer. We talked about this after the spring game that they needed to really kind of see what they could pull in the transfer portal. If they could still bring in another guy, I would not necessarily be against it. I won't lie on that one. But we'll see. And who knows? Maybe with the next guy we're going to talk about, maybe there's somebody on that defensive line that could be plugged in over there. That is, I don't know who's all over there that might not get a look-see, but maybe they could be plugged in over on the offensive line.
Yeah. So Tywone Malone is your next one then.
Yeah. So I'm real pumped about this. I mean, 6'4", 300, went to Ole Miss. He was 2 years ago, correct? It wasn't last year's class. It was 2 classes ago.
Yeah, he was a 21 kid, yes.
Yeah, so Buckeyes were in with him for a minute there. Obviously, the relationship that was built won this one over. So, I think that's kind of it's kind of important that kids that kind of fall out of favor with you. That's why building relationships is important and keeping bridges, because in the era of transfer portals, you never know when a kid like this, especially if you're high on somebody, might come calling again in a year or two. And, ended up getting him. So definitely a big dude. Would like to really, we've been looking for a body like this, possibly a defensive tackle, for a while. So,
it adds a good depth too.
Good depth. And if he ends up being a good player there, it ends up in maybe a good rotation with Hall and Tyleek and stuff. That, hey, maybe that's a door open to other Southern defensive tackles. That hey, we can go play at Ohio State too. So it's always been like the ones that they seem like they miss out on. They're always there, but then it's just hard to get those kids out of the South. But maybe a door open there. Who knows?
Right. All right. And then brother of Sonny, Lorenzo Styles.
Yeah.
Coming in from Notre Dame. Now, he was a wide receiver over Notre Dame. It sounds like he's going to work out as a cornerback, though, which, again, depth piece that we need.
We definitely need the piece. glad that he's here. I think Lorenzo's I think he's a pretty good player. So we'll see what kind of added piece he can add over in the secondary. But like you just said, definitely we got some definitely good top end guys there, I think, but it's the depth is still not quite there yet. They brought in some younger guys, but obviously those are unproven guys, so they have another experienced person that's at least been not necessarily maybe experienced at the position per se, but experience that he's been on a legitimate college football program now, and obviously has ties to Ohio State. Is good it would be good for them, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And then real quick, just the ones that walked away. Caleb Brown finds himself over at Iowa. That I think that's a big loss for Ohio State, but you got so many wide receivers, so things are going to happen like that. Ben Christman, who is one I was just really surprised just how highly he was recruited and just where our line was coming into this year. I really thought he was going to make a move, and he just never did. Best of luck to him. He's going to Kentucky. And then Caleb Burton, another wide receiver, he's on his way to Auburn. So best of luck to all those guys. They'll do great.
Yeah. The one I was really surprised about there on where he ended up going was Burton. I mean, I figured he was going down south. I just figured he was going to end up at one of those Texas schools, whether it be Texas or A&M or even Tech, TCU. I figured it was going to be someone along those lines. So I was kind of surprised that it was Auburn that got him. But, I mean, it is what it is. Like we've talked about in the past, we always knew there was going to be where some of these guys were going to slip out was going to be the receiver core. We both talked about it was going to probably be kids from last year's class just because, or 2 years ago's class. Marv and Abuka, have made such, big strides in that. And then you got Fleming still there. You still got Ballard, and then you got some. I mean, the class that they brought in this year, and Tate's already really starting to outshine a lot of these guys. And if Ennis is the same when he comes in, I mean, it was going to be a very crowded room, and it seems like it was that class, the Brown Burton class, that was kind of on the outside looking in. And we'll see how the guys like Graves and stuff does, but you might lose another one or two from that class, come fall.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to hit tonight?
No, nothing. I mean, nothing worth talking about. Stroud had an interview that people got a little, up in arms about. I would just say calm down. I know he used the word disrespected or disrespectful, but I really feel like the whole gist of the interview was to show like how he deals with adversity that he overcame and that motivated him. But let's not get into that right now. I don't think people need to get so upset about that.
I mean, that said, he played last year and he played this year. So it's not like he left.
Right. Exactly.
He started.
He didn't go running anywhere. So, he said what he said. Don't be so protective of Ohio State. It's okay. He's allowed to have a feeling. You shouldn't give a damn what he felt.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Again, remember, we'll have the links in the show notes, but check out Wadsworth football, WadsworthGrizzlyFootball.com if you're interested about getting tickets for the scholarship dinner. Again, very good cause, and we will get on out of here with that.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for coming out tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added, and please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking, and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.